back to the channel, and today we're going to discuss credit and how to build credit, especially if you're just starting out. Maybe you're young, just out of school, in college, or even if you're a young adult that just wants to learn about credit because maybe that's a topic that wasn't exactly taught the right way in school or maybe at all. So let's get right into it with some of the things that you need to do in order to buy a car, build credit, maybe eventually buy a home, get a business loan if you want to start your very own business, or just get on your way to building the credit reputation that you're going to need even just to find a good job. A lot of employers look for good credit scores and good credit history, and let's not forget the all-important getting an apartment, renting a place. Even that requires good credit in many cases, as landlords, management companies, and real estate companies that manage rental properties look for specific credit ratings that you have to have. You have to have a certain level of credit, a certain history of good credit, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So first thing you want to do if you're just starting out, don't be afraid of credit cards. Get yourself a credit card and start to use it. What I mean by that is utilize the credit card for purchasing common items like groceries, gasoline for your car, and just continue to use it. And then at the end of your monthly billing cycle, what I want you to do is to pay off the bill in full. So basically that's pretty important, because the goal here is not to have you accumulate debt. You don't want to do that. But what you want to do is use the credit card to purchase items that you normally would purchase with cash, but because you're paying like if you would with cash, you're going to then pay it off at the end of the month because you're not buying anything that you can't afford to pay at the end of the month. The key here is to utilize the credit card so that you can accumulate debt until the end of the month, but then pay it off. So really, you're not paying any interest at all, or very little if you have to let it go to the next month. At the very least, pay it off on the second month, but don't let it go more than that, because then you're going to be paying interest and also accumulating debt, and that's pretty dangerous. So pay off everything that you buy with the credit card on a monthly basis, and that's going to record with the credit bureaus a history of good credit behavior, which is you getting credit, utilizing credit, basically managing credit, and then you're going to have the positive history of paying off that credit on a monthly basis without fail. That's going to show the creditors, the banks, the other companies that you may be dealing with in the future that you are responsible and that you know how to manage credit. What you don't want to do is not have any credit and then try to get a loan or try to get an apartment or get a car loan, because then what's going to happen is, even though you don't have bad credit, because you don't have any credit, you're just not going to have enough of a history at all for anybody to reliably make a credit decision. So basically you want to show that you can manage credit by actually using credit. I would recommend that you start with one credit card or two at the most. Don't get more than 2 credit cards, because then things can become a little bit crazy to manage regarding having multiple bills coming due at the end of the month. Keep it simple. You don't need to have 10 credit cards. When you're starting out, just have like 1 or 2, preferably 2, so you can have just more than one going at the same time. You're going to see that your credit score is going to slowly start to rise and become very desirable to a lot of creditors. You're going to get a lot of advertisements for credit, for loans, better insurance rates, who knows. Credit scores and credit ratings are used for a lot of things, and going forward they may be used for more things. So it's important to have good credit. So as you're building up this credit, keep in mind that you don't want to hurt your credit in any way by paying late or defaulting on any loan. So what that means is you want to make sure that you don't accumulate too much credit. Stay always below 50% of your credit limits. But if you really want to have good credit, just pay everything off in full. Avoid accumulating credit, using your credit cards to buy things that you really can't afford to pay back in more than 1 to 2 months. that's going to keep you in good standing with the credit bureaus in terms of having a good credit rating. Of course, they want you to accumulate debt because they want to charge you a lot of interest, but don't play that game. What you want to do is utilize the credit that they offer you to just buy your everyday things, pay it off on time, avoid interest as much as possible, but still develop the credit history because you do need that. Make sure that you don't co-sign or sign paperwork that allows other people to utilize or benefit from your credit rating if possible, unless you really trust that person. And that is because if you co-sign, let's say, for somebody else to get a car loan because maybe you have pretty good credit and somebody else maybe is just starting out or doesn't have that much credit, just be careful of that and understand what the consequences of that are if that other person does not pay their loan. So if you co-sign for somebody else to get a car or to get an apartment because they just don't have the right income or the right credit to do it on their own, if you co-sign to try to help them, that's fine that you do that. But you run a risk that if they don't pay their bills, then that will affect your credit in a negative way. As you develop your credit and things really get going on your credit score in a positive way, you're going to be flooded with invitations and applications for new credit. Just be aware that the more other companies like that run your credit score, so the more credit card companies run your credit score, potentially there's a risk that your credit score could drop because you're getting a lot of credit inquiries. So be careful with that. Keep it to like 1 to 2 to 3 at the most credit cards, just so that it's manageable in terms of keeping up to date on your bills and keeping up to date on looking at your monthly statements to make sure that you're not being overcharged on things, or that maybe your credit card has been stolen and somebody else might be utilizing it. If you keep it to only a few credit cards, you have a better chance of staying on top of things and paying your bills on time because it's only a few bills that you have to work with. The other thing too, guys, is try to make sure that as you're building your credit, don't be afraid to take out a car loan. So if you have a car that you want to buy and you can probably pay it off in cash, let's say, don't be afraid to take out one car loan on it just to further develop your credit. That's going to really help you as well. But then pay it off faster. So say you get a car loan, not a lease, I'm talking about a car loan, then what you want to do there is, if you don't want to accumulate that much interest, get the car loan. Hopefully if you have good credit, even if you're just starting out, your interest rate will be pretty competitive and pretty good. But if you want to minimize the amount of interest that you pay, get the car loan. If it's a 5-year loan, a 4-year loan, whatever it is, you could still pay it off faster by paying more than the minimum payment that is required, depending on the term of your loan or how long your loan is. So that's going to help you with developing additional credit, because you don't want to just have credit card credit. You want to have also maybe some installment loans. Installment loans are basically loans that have a defined ending point and a defined balance when you're starting out, whereas a credit card is called revolving debt because it's just like a revolving door of debt. You have maybe a credit limit of like $5,000, and as you buy things, your credit limit maybe gets raised over time, but you can buy things, pay it off, buy things, pay it off. So your balance is going to fluctuate and your account really doesn't really ever close. Whereas if you get an installment loan, that's where you're getting like a car loan or something, and you borrow maybe $15,000 for a car, and that $15,000 will eventually get paid off. So that loan will come to an end eventually. So that's what's called an installment loan. But basically what you want to know about that is pay it off faster by paying more than the minimum. So if your monthly car payment is $250, then don't be afraid to send $300 if you can afford it to pay it off that much faster and reduce your overall interest that you're going to pay over the life of that installment loan, that car loan. So if you do all these things, get the credit cards, use them like you would cash, buy groceries, buy your gasoline, and then pay them off at the end of the month so you don't accumulate debt or pay too much interest. Then also maybe get a car loan, and even if you could pay it cash, get the car loan, even if it's a small car loan, it doesn't matter, and then pay that off quickly as well by paying more than the minimum payment required. You'll develop a credit history that is gonna allow you to really take advantage of the best interest rates on your future mortgages. It's gonna allow you to take advantage of housing in terms of rental housing if you're gonna rent an apartment or something. And the benefit there's no interest, but if you have very good credit and a job, you might be able to get that apartment with a reduced security deposit. You don't have to pay as much money for the initial deposit. Also, you might benefit from additional credit card offers that maybe even your own credit card company might give you specials to maybe reduce your interest rate on purchases made for a certain introductory period where it's like 0%. Take advantage of that zero interest debt, but then pay that off very quickly, because remember, try as much as you can not to use credit cards for purchases that you cannot afford to pay back within 1 to 2 months at the most. So with that said, guys, hope you got something out of this video. Until the next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.